Hey, what's going on? I believe your username is TheTembiamble. Thank you for your message towards me. You know, I really do appreciate you sharing your viewpoints, even if it may not, match up with mine. Like I said, I always respect people who know how to debate somebody or disagree with somebody without being, disrespectful. So, once again, I really do appreciate that. Now, let me put it to you like this. You have to understand that celebrities are celebrities and they live in a different world. Okay? If I was a celebrity and I said I was only messing with black women who were medium and darker in skin tone, and that's what you saw me with on TV, still, the vast majority of medium to darker skinned black women wouldn't look like those women. Okay? Yes, they'd be darker in skin tone, but they may or may not have certain features. Okay? You have to take that in consideration. Even with black men. Okay? Yeah, you see darker skinned black men on TV, but how many, or just in the media, but how many black men look like Tyson Beckford? How many black men look like, some other famous darker skinned model? So the women can come up and say, we appreciate you guys. But even then, those are model type dudes. They're not every day. So I'm not trying to say that it wouldn't help, okay, if that's what we actually saw. But at the end of the day, people who tend to be on TV, are on TV because they're funny or they're extremely sexy and attractive. So even if you had a whole bunch of brothers walking around with medium to darker skinned women, they're not going to look like the everyday black women. Just like, the black men who are on TV who are cast as the whole, sex symbol, more so the whole model side of it, they're not walking around looking like Tyson Beckford, even though Tyson Beckford is dark skinned, right? And it's not a shot to everyday black people. It's TV. Like I said, chances are if you're funny, you'll be on TV, or if you're really attractive, you're going to be on TV. Simple as that. You talked about entertainers, rappers, some athletes. Here's what I'll say. In regards to music videos, black music isn't marketed towards black people. Let's be real. Okay? It's marketed towards the rest of America. We all know about the switch that happened in the early 90s, mid-90s, from when black music, was black. You can tell that we were kind of the creating forces behind it to what we have now. Even in some of the earlier music videos, okay? If you look at the type of black women that were cast in those videos, a lot of them tended to be, I would say, more so closer to what you saw. You saw some darker skinned women in there. You saw some medium. They weren't necessarily going with what we have now. But look at what's happening now. Hip hop has become global. Okay, BET, MTV. Who owns those companies? And once again, they're not catering towards black people. To be real with you, if somebody said BET, you have a choice. Cater your channel towards black people or cater your channel towards white people and the rest of America. They would say, I'm going with the rest of America because they stand to make more money. Now, in terms of what we see in music videos, especially rap music videos with, the whole idea of the light-skinned girl or the mixed girl or just the, the non-black girl, two things. Understand that the rappers don't have as much as control as you like to think. Oftentimes, the guys just show up. I remember, what was it, high school, when they had Making the Video on MTV. I used to watch that a lot. And the guy would just pretty much show up to the set and do his thing. And to be real with you, to be really real with you, there's a lot of females who do the whole casting. They have their little talent scouting agencies, and they pick up these girls. And they're the ones that were putting them in this video. You have black women who are in the industry who are those wranglers or whatever you call them, who find these talented women, but you don't really see too many pushing for darker skinned women. And at the end of the day, who's cutting the check? Who's paying these people? The label is. You know, they have their creative directors. You have to understand, a lot of times these artists don't own what they do. They don't own themselves. You know, they don't own their names. So the labels want to see what they want to see. So they'll say, yo, you know, put this girl in. You know, we want to market to a larger audience. You know, we want the white guy to turn on BET, or the Asian guy, or whatever, and be attracted by what he sees. So let me put on a mixed type of girl, some exotic beauty. And to be real with you, a lot of exotic beauties are typically a mix. You know, I've already talked about a while ago how the new beauty standard isn't, you know, European. It's more so of that Central America, because you have a mixture of everybody. So, you know, you, from a business standpoint, right, you have people who say, yo, I want to put a girl on there that the men just want to see. I want all men to watch my videos and like what they see, to be honest with you. Okay? You know, I understand what it means to us, but for these people, it's money. It's money. It's numbers. Sex sells. You know, they want to put something on there that everybody wants to see. And also, you have to factor in the awe factor. Okay, America is fascinated with seeing black men with non-black women because it's still taboo. You know, people love to see it because it's so, you know, fantasy. People love fantasy. It's just like a movie. You know, people want to go see, you know, Harry Potter and Twilight. They love that fantasy world. And seeing that, you know, seeing the black guy, you know, the rapper, you know, who's kind of like this rebel, you know, with this beautiful exotic woman, people are going to be drawn to it. America loves it. So you know, they want all sorts of men to turn on and, you know, and just be attracted to these women. Even look at Beyonce in the early 90s, you know, mid 90s when, you know, Destiny's Child was out. Look at how Beyonce looked, and look at Beyonce now. And tell me, has Beyonce's audience changed? Yes, it's become more global. So how does she look? More global. Right? She doesn't look like the old school Destiny's Child. I know people, you know, get older and they refine themselves as they go through their career. But come on now. Skin tone, the hair. What's going on? You know, I don't really see too many black women going after Beyonce and what she's trying to do. You know, how come she's not, you know, keeping it real? How come she's not keeping it black? You have to understand that there's a business side to it. I understand the great social impact it could have if we actually, you know, put, you know, actual black women on TV, right? And not in, you know, that asexual manner. Unfortunately, anytime you do see a darker skinned black woman on TV, she's always in some asexual type of, you know, disposition. I understand that. But then you have to understand that it's a business, my friend. It's a business. They're trying to make money. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. You talk to B. Diddy, Jay-Z, all these other people, they will agree. They'll probably tell you, yeah, you know, the fact that we don't put darker skinned women in our media and our music videos, I see the damage that it does. You know, especially when you have all these, you know, average black women trying to emulate what they see on TV. But for a lot of these guys, yo, they made the choice. I'm trying to make money. And the ones who don't really have power are at the power of their labels, who say, yo, I'm trying to sell. I'm trying to make money off your ass. So you're going to do this video, and I want you to put these girls in here because I want people to watch. Because I want the men to be attracted. So I want to put universally attractive women in your music video. Secondly, the awe factor, to see some rebellious black man with some beauty, exotic beauty, you know, people are going to be like, oh my gosh, what's going on? That whole wow factor, that whole, it's so taboo, what is she doing? You know, he's at the bottom of our society. So they're always going to do it because it's what sells. Also, a lot of black women, y'all don't understand, there's other women in the industry that aren't advocating for y'all. And this is the part that's upsetting. Like I said, a lot of these girls that get casted, right, it's other black women casting them, and these black women who are in the industry, what are they doing for other black women? How many dark-skinned black women are they finding and saying, yo, this girl's beautiful, you need to put her in the next Jay-Z video? Let's be real. So once again, what I'm trying to let you understand is that you have a group of people who are just trying to make money. And they've made the choice, whether it was, you know, willingly or unwillingly, that they're just trying to make some money. And they'll do whatever it takes. And once again, just go back and look at early music. You know, early black music in the 80s and the 90s, early 90s, and, you know, look at the type of black people that were there, and look at what the market that it was catered to. And the second that market started to open up, what happened? What happened? So, you know, I know it doesn't explain everything, and we still, you know, have personal choice, and people are just making bad choices, and they're not thinking about the long run. But, man, we know we live in a money-driven world, and people want to make money. So, you know, like I said, I'm not trying to provide some excuse, but I'm just really trying to put it out there so more people understand what's going on. You know, people just don't do foul things just to do foul things. They're getting paid for it, so people are making money, right? They stand to make more money by putting, you know, the mixed girl or the light-skinned girl or the non-black girl on TV as opposed to the darker skin one. So you take it easy. Tell me how you feel. God bless.